One of the areas that parents perhaps don't appreciate as much as I think they should is that they are looking at the most important safety product for their child. We have a motto: fit right, sit tight, max out the height. Fit right is to get advice, help to assess and select the correct seat for your child and for your car. Sit tight is to try and make sure that the parent understands that that seat, to work correctly, has to be fitted correctly, firmly. If it's with ISOFIX, it still has to be fitted in a particular way. If it's with a lap and diagonal seatbelt, that lap and diagonal seatbelt has to be tight and correctly around the seat. And the child in the seat has to be fitted correctly by the 3 or 5 point harness that it's using. And then, because parents are very keen to move their children from one category of seat to the next seat, we are trying to persuade them to stay in that category for as long as possible, which is the max out the height business. So most children's car seats have a recognized height that they go up to, and we would like parents to make sure that their child is as close to that height as they can possibly achieve. And the reason for that is, if you go into the next stage of seat too soon, a number of things can happen. One is the harness is too high and therefore is considerably less effective. The other is the adult seatbelt can be exactly the same, but in the case of a high back booster where the seatbelt comes into play, it's also an issue of the child understanding how to use the adult seatbelt themselves. And a child that is too young, let's say 2.5, is probably not going to understand what mummy and daddy are saying in relation to the seatbelt and how it should be used. It's difficult enough when they're 4 years of age. So you're not allowed to go into a high back booster legally until you're 15 kilograms. That's usually under 3. The introduction of ISOFIX made quite a significant difference to the safety of use of children's car seats in cars. It was first introduced by Volkswagen in their vehicles, and Britax were the first manufacturer to bring out seats that worked with it. At that time, if you did a survey of seats that were incorrectly fitted, you'd probably have found, believe it or not, that was probably 85% of seats were found to be incorrectly fitted or inappropriate for the child that's using them. After a few years and the introduction of ISOFIX, it was found that ISOFIX seats were less likely to be fitted incorrectly. It's still the case that ISOFIX is much easier to fit, and it is unlikely that it'll be fitted incorrectly. But probably today, 7% of ISOFIX seats are still incorrectly fitted or are unsuitable for the child that's using them. There's a huge market of non-ISOFIX seats out there, regrettably, and they tend to be the cheaper seats, and the parents who are using them believe, quite rightly, that these are approved seats, and they're using them because the law tells them they have to use a safety seat. So they're not so interested necessarily in getting the right thing, and so they will buy whatever they can put their hand on first, really. You would imagine that they think, and quite understandably, that every child's car safety seat is going to be suitable for their child and suitable for their car. And so they don't need to look into it. And as a result, between 70 and 80% of children's car seats are incorrectly fitted.